I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've been married to Amanda for almost 7 years. We were the kind of couple everyone thought was perfect. Good jobs, a nice house, a dog that was basically like our kid. I thought we had a solid, honest relationship. Or at least I did, until the last 6 months started to feel different. Small things at first, her phone always face down. Late nights at work that suddenly turned into working late way more often than before. I shrugged it off, told myself she was just stressed or maybe she was tired of me, but deep down I felt that gnawing suspicion. Looking back, I guess the warning signs were there. She started dressing differently, more provocative, more confident. She'd come home with new perfume I never recognized, and I'd catch her on her phone a lot more. But she always had some excuse, it's just work, or you're paranoid. I wanted to believe her, really. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. We'd been through a lot, especially after I lost my job about 3 months ago. That was a blow. I was out of work for weeks, feeling useless, and she kept saying she was supporting me, that it was just a rough patch. I appreciated that, but sometimes I wondered if she was telling the truth or just trying to keep me quiet. Then 2 nights ago, I came home earlier than I planned. I had a gut feeling, some instinct that something was off. When I walked in, the house was oddly silent. No TV, no cooking, no usual chaos. I didn't hear her voice in the bathroom or her laughter from her phone like normal. I headed to the bedroom, and that's when I saw it. Her phone was on the bed, screen unlocked. I hesitated for a second, then I looked. There were messages, a lot of messages. I scrolled through them and my stomach clenched hard. They weren't just friendly banter. They were intimate, flirtatious, clearly leading somewhere. I saw a few messages from her to some guy named Ryan. The way she talked, the way they joked about meeting up, about finally seeing each other in person, it was obvious enough. And then I saw the photos she sent him. She wasn't wearing much. I felt like I was punched in the chest. My mind raced, my heart pounding. I knew then that my wife had been cheating on me. I stood there staring at her phone, trying to process what I'd seen. My first instinct was rage, pure white-hot fury. But at the same time, I felt crushed. Betrayed isn't even the word. I've been so blind, so naive, thinking everything was fine, that I was doing okay even after losing my job. Turns out, I was just fooling myself. She had this whole secret life behind my back, and I never even saw it coming. I don't remember how long I stood there just staring at those messages, but I knew I had to confront her. That was inevitable. The question was how she would react, and whether I even had the strength to hear her out or if I'd just explode. The moment I found those messages, everything inside me changed. I knew I had to confront her. There was no way I could just pretend I didn't see. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, and called her into the living room. She looked up from whatever she was doing, probably scrolling through social media or pretending to be busy, and gave me that fake smile she always used when she thought she could get away with something. That's when I felt the first surge of pure anger. How dare she act like everything was normal, like she didn't just betray me in the worst way possible. I told her I needed to talk. Her eyes narrowed and she immediately started with her usual bullshit. "What's wrong, Jake? You look like you've seen a ghost." I told her I knew about the messages. Her face froze, then she rolled her eyes and let out that bitchy laugh of hers. "Oh, come on, you're overreacting. That's just some stupid flirtation. It doesn't mean anything. You're so paranoid, I swear." I felt like I'd been punched again. That's her typical response: deny, deny, deny until she can spin a story. But I wasn't buying it. I showed her the messages and she scoffed. "That's private. You shouldn't be snooping through my stuff." She crossed her arms, her voice laced with condescension. "You're just insecure. You're angry about losing your job, so now you're making up shit to make me look bad." She tried to make it sound like I was the crazy one for even bringing it up, but I couldn't be fooled anymore. I saw what I saw. The thing is, Amanda has always been good at lying, at spinning stories. She's manipulative and bitchy when she wants to be. She's the kind of woman who can make you doubt your own judgment. She's quick to turn the tables, accuse you of things she's guilty of, and play the victim. But this time, I wasn't falling for it. I was too hurt, too angry, too betrayed. I told her I wanted the truth. She looked at me, eyes cold, and said, "There's nothing going on, you're just jealous and bitter. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating on me, huh? Maybe I should be asking you the same thing." That hurt worse than anything else. The accusation, the suspicion, it made me feel sick. I told her I didn't cheat, that I'd never betray her like this. But the damage was done. The trust was shattered. I could see the cracks in her face, the way she was trying to hide her own guilt behind that bitchy attitude of hers. She kept insisting it was just some stupid flirtation, that she told this guy she was supporting me after I lost my job, that she was only trying to help me feel better, that she loved me, that she'd never do anything to hurt me. But her words sounded hollow, empty. I felt like I was losing my mind. All the years, all the memories, the promises we made, were they just lies? Was I ever really close to knowing her? Or was I just fooling myself all along? My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. I looked at her, and the image of her in bed, whispering to Ryan, suddenly burned into my mind. The betrayal was so raw, so real, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I knew I had to decide what to do next, but honestly, every part of me was just numb. I didn't think I could feel anything worse than this. After that night, I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, her face, her lies, and those damn messages kept flashing in my mind. I kept replaying her excuses, her denial, and that accusatory tone she used when she threw my own doubts back at me. The betrayal cut deep, but what hurt more was her ability to lie so effortlessly, to pretend she was innocent when she clearly was. I felt like I was losing my grip, trying to hold on to any shred of the woman I thought I knew. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a heavy weight in my chest. I knew I couldn't just sit around and do nothing. I needed a plan, something to make sense of this chaos. First thing I did was browse through her phone again, something I probably shouldn't admit, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to find proof, to be absolutely sure of what I already knew. That's when I found the other side of her, more messages, more lies. She had been lying about where she was, who she was with, what she was doing. She told me she was supporting me, that she was trying to help me get through my unemployment, but I found messages where she was talking to Ryan about meeting up, about sneaking around, about sex. I felt my stomach turn. I was furious, but I also felt a strange wave of sadness. I'd built my entire life with her, thought we were partners. Now I wasn't so sure I knew anything about her at all. How could she betray me like that? How could she lie to my face, pretend everything was normal while she was secretly sleeping with someone else? The worst part was she kept lying even when I confronted her. Her tone got bitchier, more dismissive. "You're overreacting," she snapped. "You're just upset because you're unemployed. You're insecure and you're imagining things. Ryan's just a friend, nothing more. You're paranoid." I wanted to scream. How could she be so callous? How could she lie so easily? That's who she was, a master manipulator. I knew then that I couldn't trust her anymore. I had to decide what to do next. Confronting her again wouldn't help. I'd already seen her true face. I knew I had to gather my strength, figure out whether to confront her again or just get out. But deep inside, I felt like I was already gone. My whole world was collapsing, and I didn't know how to put the pieces back together. Thing is, I didn't want to be a victim. I wanted to be in control, to somehow turn this around. I knew I had to decide if I was going to give her another chance or if I was going to burn it all down and walk away. I started thinking about everything I'd lost, the job, my pride, the trust I once had in her, and wondered if I'd ever be able to rebuild. The pain was overwhelming, but I also knew I couldn't keep pretending. The woman I loved, the woman I married, she was gone. Replaced by someone cold, manipulative, and unfaithful. I had to choose, stay and keep getting hurt or leave and start over. The choice was gut-wrenching, but I knew what I had to do. I just didn't know if I had the strength to do it yet. Over the next couple of days, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. Every time I saw her, I could see the lies behind her eyes, the way she dismissed everything I said with that bitchy smirk. She kept telling me I was paranoid, jealous, or just taking things the wrong way. It was like talking to a wall that refused to admit the truth, but I wasn't about to let her manipulate me anymore. I started planning, trying to figure out what my next move should be. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand the truth outright. Another part just wanted to pack my bags and walk away, leave her to her lies. One thing I knew for sure. I couldn't stay in this house anymore, not with her sneaking around and lying to my face. I started gathering my things in secret, making plans to leave while she was at work. I kept thinking about everything I'd been through, losing my job, the false support she claimed to give me, and now this betrayal. It was like I'd been hit by a freight train. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became that I couldn't trust her. Not anymore. She'd lied so many times that I couldn't tell what was real and what was just another way for her to manipulate the situation. The day I finally decided to confront her again, I wanted to be ready. I didn't want her to deny her lies this time. No excuses. No bullshit. I wanted her to face what she'd done. I waited until she was leaving for work, packed a small bag, and told her I needed some space. She looked annoyed, like I was bothering her, but I didn't care. I told her I'd been doing some thinking, that I knew everything and I wasn't going to pretend anymore. That's when she snapped. Her bitchy attitude flared up again. You're just throwing a tantrum because you lost your stupid job. You're insecure, desperate, and now you're trying to ruin everything I have. You're just a jealous, insecure man who can't handle a little competition. Her words hit me like a punch. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I knew exactly what she was, that I'd seen her messages, that I knew she'd been cheating on me with Ryan. I told her I didn't need her lies anymore, that I'd had enough of her bullshit. Her face twisted in rage. She yelled at me, calling me all sorts of names: pathetic, broken, insecure. She denied everything, of course, but I didn't buy it. I was done listening to her lies. I told her I was leaving. For good, that I couldn't be with someone who could do this to me. As I walked out that door, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. I'd lost my wife, maybe forever, but I'd also gained clarity. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was taking control of my life again. The house seemed emptier without her bitchy comments echoing through the halls. I knew it was going to be a long road ahead, figuring out how to heal, how to trust again, how to move on, but at least I was free. Free from her manipulations, her lies, her betrayal. And honestly, that felt like a kind of victory. The days that followed were the hardest I've ever faced. Living alone in that house, with all her stuff still there, was like walking through a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every corner reminded me of our life together. Her favorite coffee mug, her perfume lingering in the air, her clothes still hanging in the closet. I wanted to burn it all, to erase her from my world, but I knew I couldn't run from what she did. I had to confront it head on, deal with the wreckage, and somehow find a way to move forward. I spent hours going through her phone, her emails, anything I could find. I needed proof, something concrete to seal the deal in my mind that she was a liar. I wanted to trust my instincts, but I also needed certainty. The more I dug, the more I found. Chat logs, sexts, plans to meet up again. They were all there. The thing that crushed me most was how cold she'd become, how shameless her lies were. She told her friends she was supporting me, that I was overreacting, that I was just jealous. Meanwhile, she was out there with Ryan doing God knows what. I remember sitting on the couch, staring at her phone, feeling numb but also furious. I couldn't believe I'd been played for a fool all these years. How did I not see it? How did I not know that the woman I loved was capable of lying, cheating, and pretending to care? I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry all at once. The worst part was knowing I'd probably never get the honest truth from her now. She'd spin some lies, deny everything, and play the victim just like she always did. But this time I was done listening. I knew I had to do something to get closure, even if it meant burning bridges. So I sat there planning my next move. I decided I'd talk to her one last time, face to face, so I could finally hear her lie to my face. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be fooled anymore. When she came home that evening, I was already waiting. She looked surprised, maybe even a little guilty, but her bitchy attitude came right back. "What are you doing here? I thought you'd be out by now," she snapped. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "I know everything, Amanda. I know about Ryan, all the messages, the sex. I've seen enough to know I was living with a liar." Her face twisted in anger and she started her usual bullshit, denying, accusing me of stalking her, calling me insecure. But I was too numb to care. I told her I was done, that I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I told her I was leaving for good. that I didn't want anything to do with her anymore. The look she gave me then was pure hatred mixed with contempt. She spat out a few insults, called me jealous, insecure, pathetic, but I just walked away. I knew I had taken the last piece of her lies with me. That night I stayed in a hotel. I needed space, clarity. As I lay there alone in that dark room, I finally allowed myself to feel everything: anger, sadness, relief. I realized that I'd been living in a dream, believing she was supportive, that she loved me. But she was just using me, cheating behind my back, lying about everything. And I was finally free from that illusion. I knew I'd need time to heal, to trust again, but I also knew one thing for sure: I'd never let someone do that to me again. Never again. The betrayal had broken me, but it had also set me free. In the days that followed, I started putting my life back together, piece by piece. It wasn't easy. There were nights I lay awake wondering how I could have been so blind, so naive. I kept replaying everything: the good times, the bad, the lies, the betrayal. It all felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. But slowly I realized that the freedom I'd gained was worth the pain. I didn't want to carry her betrayal around with me forever. I had to let it go, forgive myself for trusting her so blindly, and move on. Getting rid of her stuff was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. I threw out her clothes, her makeup, her jewelry, the remnants of a woman I thought I knew. It was like cutting off a part of my past. I didn't do it out of hatred. I did it to reclaim my space, my mind, my life. Every box I took to the trash felt like a small victory, a step toward healing. Deep down, I knew I couldn't erase what she'd done, but I could stop letting it define me. I could choose to be better, stronger, smarter. I reached out to some friends for support, people who knew us both, and told them what happened. Their reactions were a mix of anger and sympathy, but what mattered most was that I finally admitted the truth to myself. I wasn't just some victim of her lies. I was a guy who'd been betrayed, but who was still standing. I'd learned a brutal lesson about trust, about looking at people, not just with my heart but also with my eyes wide open. Now I've started to rebuild my life. I found a new job, one I actually enjoy, and I've been focusing on myself: therapy, exercising, rediscovering hobbies I'd long abandoned. The pain of betrayal still lingers, but it's no longer in control. I've come to accept that people are complicated, and sometimes they hide who they really are until it's too late. But I also know that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived this, and I will heal. Looking back, I realize I learned more than I ever wanted to about the true nature of my wife. She was never the loyal, supportive partner I thought she was. She was selfish, manipulative, and willing to lie and cheat just to satisfy her own needs. That realization stung, but it also freed me from the illusion I'd been living in. The best thing I can do now is move forward, accept what's happened, and keep trusting that someday I'll find someone who's worthy of my trust and my love. That's the real lesson I'm taking from this. Sometimes you have to lose everything to gain yourself back. And honestly, I'm just glad I'm still here, still standing and ready for whatever comes next.